Howdy nerds, it's Kevin with Gone Rogue Games again here with another video that I'm sure is not going to get the best view counts because it won't be about drama, about Pokemon. Today I'm actually going to talk about something I'm very passionate about, and this is board games. And so one of the things that sets me aside from other places that you can shop online in these kind of what we call buyers clubs. I know there's a million out there now that have kind of followed suit and followed kind of my business model of being able to sign up for a subscription service and then be able to buy products. However, I don't see a lot of them that actually do talk about board games, allow you to buy board games, and I want to be able to be your kind of guide into the board game genre, especially coming into the holiday seasons, and kind of showcase some of the games that I think are great pickups for either family games or friends, or if you are into the board game genre, you can definitely get in on this. So again, I am very passionate about board games. There are more than just Magic the Gathering and Pokemon that you can actually enjoy. And I think that if you haven't dipped into the board game genre, you're missing out. What I like to tell people is there's a board game for everyone. And again, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I'd love to talk board games with you if you are in the market to buying them. And you can save some money by going through me. So it's a win-win for everyone. So anyway, here we go with our kind of board game selection here at our store. I'd love to carry even more board games, but we are basically to capacity, as you can see. I'll give you a little tour around the store here. We got, of course, the dogs that are for sale. How much are you, Chloe?
Just take her, please.
Just take Chloe? Zach says take Chloe, because she is ornery. She's approaching 10 years old, and she is so ornery.
She didn't bark at some dogs out there.
Really? She got spanked on the way down because she was barking it, going crazy on the walking dogs. Anyway, so yeah, so here at Gone Rogue Games, of course, we're pretty to capacity with what we have to offer here. We do D&D, we do paints, we do miniatures, we do some cool 3D prints with like dice towers and whatnot, and of course we sell the full line of Magic the Gathering. But one thing, as I mentioned, board games. We'd love to have a bigger space to offer board games, but I think we have a good selection here. If you do come into the store, I can definitely direct you to a board game of your liking. And as I stated earlier, I think there's a board game for everyone. If you like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, if you just like games in general, I think that I can find you a decent board game. There's anything from party games, which I will not touch because I'm the most non-social person when it comes to playing board games. I like the more strategy games, but we do have lots of access to kind of more the party games, like of course the Exploding Kittens type stuff, or even the, like you can see clear up here in the corner, we have these really kind of social games here. So then there are like some of my favorite genres here of like the roll and writes and flip and writes. They're really fun and casual. And some of my ones that I really enjoy are these, what I call like 30 to 40 minute strategic games. People call them abstract games. But this is kind of my genre. I really like to play these type of games. So again, if you are ever in this area, definitely stop by and come play a board game with me. We have an entire board game room back here that is absolutely a disaster because I'm trying to organize it. So this is on my to-do list today. I'm going to organize the board games. Eventually we're going to remodel this room and we're going to put shelving back here so it can actually store all these board games. This room, once upon a time, as you can see the foam on the wall, this was my studio. And then we decided we needed more play space. So we moved me to the back of the where we used to have some storage, and now we actually have table space back here. Now these tables are full on Mondays and Saturdays on Commander nights. So you can see our store is oftentimes not the busiest stores, but Commander nights are very robust now. We have been getting a full house, and if we continue to get more people, we will have the discussion of getting a bigger store. But right now, for pre-releases, typically speaking, we can hold like 12, 20 people pretty comfortably here, and then we can set up more tables in the other rooms and even have more. I think our biggest pre-release ever was like 36. So again, we're a very rural area. Some of our Commander nights will get into the 20s and 30s. But again, it does what it does. It's a pretty good location for this. Keeps the overhead very low, and people can still enjoy and be comfortably seated here and play their games. So anyway, this is kind of like my board game room back here. And again, I'm organizing some of my favorite stuff. So without further ado, I guess maybe I should talk about games that I think are great to get into if you're new to the board game genre. So as I stated, so it's hard to classify what are my favorite games for board games, because I do like these heavier games like Terraforming Mars and Ark Nova. The problem with Terraforming Mars and Ark Nova is they take hours to play, especially if you're teaching new people. And so you have to kind of be in the mood to play a long game. I do love those type of strategic games. I would still say that Terraforming Mars is my favorite game of all time for board games. And if you haven't played Terraforming Mars, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get into it. I wish they'd do a remastered version for Terraforming Mars where they'd balance a lot of the cards and just redo the game. And speaking of a remastered version, Wingspan, I hope that someday they will rebalance this game, because a lot of the cards are just not balanced in the game. And I think it actually is a very, very fun and enjoyable game. It's one of my favorite two-player games, actually. I think Wingspan actually works incredibly well for 2 players. I know it says up to 5 players, and people talk about how it's such a good multiplayer game, but I actually think that the strategy of Wingspan is definitely better for 2 players than it is for multiple players after that. So I do like some of these what we call medium to heavier games. I don't really typically play any what we call heavy games. So those are games that take over like 2 hours or are really, brain burners. I wouldn't even consider Terraforming Mars or Ark Nova to be heavy. I think they're more in the scope of medium heavy than they are into heavy type board games. So anyway, so these are the games that I actually play the most. So I've got them kind of organized here, and this is a good way to get into the board game genre. I would start with something like Splendor. My pick for Splendor would definitely be the Marvel Splendor. It's just more balanced than the regular Splendor. Splendor is kind of an older game. I believe it was 2010, but it's still a great game nonetheless. But I think the Marvel version is just an upgrade to Splendor. It's got a lot more balance and strategy than the original Splendor, which is more about chip denial than anything. I'll have to get into the kind of mechanics of Splendor. Do you have the Pokemon version? Unfortunately, I cannot order this. If you want this, you have to actually get it from Korea, so it's a Korea exclusive. I wish they'd actually bring this over into an English version, because the Pokemon Splendor is actually quite fun. I actually wish they'd make more Splendors, because I think there's a lot you can do with the game mechanics of Splendor. And yeah, it's a very, very fun game. I actually go play Splendor with one of my best friends on Sunday every night. That's all they want to play is Splendor, 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 Splendor. So that is Splendor nights for Sunday. So I highly recommend into the Century line of, the first one is called Century Spice Roads, which is kind of like a deck builder. And it's got a worker placement version as well as an area movement. And then they actually have reskinned it in these Golem versions. So this Century Golem is the exact same as the Century Spice Road. It's just got a different skin to it. So some of my favorite games that I highly suggest if you are in the board game, if you have not tried Harmonies, Harmonies is a must. So this is my favorite game of the year that has come out this year. It is a very, very, very fun tile placement game. So this is almost like Azul meets Project L meets Reef meets Cascadia. It's got a lot of mechanics from a lot of the board games I enjoy. But on your turn, you're taking it's very similar to Azul, as you're taking a bunch of these tile pieces and laying them on your board. And then you're trying to create these habitats for the cards that you've picked up. So you're going to score points based upon the habitats you make, the animals that can go in your habitat. And I think there is so much room for expansions for Harmonies. I'm very excited to where they take this game. So if you are a board gamer and haven't tried out Harmonies, I highly, highly recommend it. It's not that expensive a game too. I think it will be around 20 bucks if you purchase it from me. I think the MSRP for this is like 35. And typically speaking, that's like the discount you'll get. So you don't get the best discounts compared to like card games and stuff. Typically speaking, it costs me about 60% of MSRP from distributors. Typically it's about 62%, I've noticed from most of them. So if like a game is 100 bucks, MSRP, it's going to cost me like $62 to get it. So that gives you kind of a baseline of where you get. So unfortunately, if you're in the East Coast, oftentimes board games are just not economical for me to ship them to you, because you'll be paying more for shipping than you would be, to get it locally or to get it from, some place that does offer free shipping. However, oftentimes the patrons, what they'll do with board games, they'll add it to a bigger order, and that way I can send a big box, and then you can save on shipping at that point to let things build up. So again, like I said, I love to be like this is my passion right here. So one of the reasons why I've chosen this model is I do like being your kind of guide to gaming in general. And I like to show people I like to convert people away from Pokemon and Magic and show them there's a world beyond these TCGs. And I think that, as I stated multiple times now in this video, that there's a board game for everyone. So you might not be into the same abstract games that I'm into. You might be more into the area control games or the social deduction games, or into even things like heavy strategy games. But there is a board game for everyone, and you should be dipping your feet into this genre sooner than later that you get into it. I waited too long. Unfortunately, with me with board games, my kind of story with it is I was Magic only. So I played online games like Dota 2, really into StarCraft, was really into Dota 2, those kind of RTSs and MOBAs. And then I was into Magic. And so when I used to go to stores, people would try to get me to play board games. And unfortunately, I think they introduced me into the wrong type of games. So I remember a game, what was the game, like Dead of Winter? People used to play Legendaries. So they were playing like those type of games. And and then I grew up with playing things like Monopoly, Risk, and Apples to Apples. And so I always thought that there wasn't much to board games. So they're too gimmicky, they're too social, they're too much dice rolling. And so I didn't care to play. And eventually, someone introduced me to Century Golem. This was my gateway game into board games. And my mind really works with efficiency and planning, and these type of games are perfect for it, because a lot of these like economic games is what we call them, or like engine building games, they really scratch that itch of trying to be incredibly efficient and to try to play your opponents by being efficient. And so Century was really my gateway and showed me that there was a lot that board games could offer beyond just these really thematic and dice rolling games that I was introduced to earlier, and I kind of snubbed my nose to. So now there are a lot of games that I've played. I've played probably thousands of games, hundreds of games at this point, as my collection is quite large. And I do consider myself a very seasoned board gamer. So again, I love to give people recommendations on board games. Some of my other favorite titles here are the Azul line. Summer Pavilion is by far my favorite version of Azul. Azul is another abstract tile laying games. Scoville is getting a reprint here. This is one of the better games that has been out of stock for quite some time. It's a movement game where you pick up peppers and try to fulfill orders. And it's another fun one. And Hadar, another very underrated game that I wish would get more love, because this is a card drafting game where you're trying to build the best economic engine with your cards. So Hadar is very, very underrated. If it's one that I highly recommend. If you are a board gamer and haven't played it, that's one to go. Of course, we got lines like Ticket to Ride and Five Tribes that are very classic at this point. Take an Echo. You have things like Carcassonne, all of the very, very popular lines. I still have access to. Everdell is one of my favorite games as far as like a good little worker placement. Got Great Western Trail down here, Cascadia, lots of these type of board games. So maybe I'll have to do a top 10 board games of sometime soon. But if I were to give some quick recommendations right now, if you are a new and returning board gamer, Harmonies. So Harmonies. So hopefully we can get together a big order for Harmonies if you're looking for a good Christmas present or you want to spoil yourself. I'm going to do a big order of Harmonies so we can get that in the hands of everyone and get that game going. Another one, of course, that I do recommend is Century Spice Roads. If you're looking for a gateway game in to the game. And I even recommend things like Ticket to Ride. I think Ticket to Ride has its place. It's kind of an older game and most people have played it at this point. However, I still enjoy a good Ticket to Ride game. If you haven't played Cascadia, Cascadia is another nice little gateway game that I highly, highly, highly recommend. It's got a lot of expansion at this point, but as you can see, I am kind of a tile placement person. I like to do kind of build these, I don't know what you call them, habitats and score points. Tile placement type games, those are fun. Another one I highly, highly recommend is Point City. Point City is one of my favorite newer games. I believe it was released a couple of years ago, so it is kind of older at this point, a couple of years old at this point, but it combines the best elements of Splendor with its first game called Point Salad. And Point Salad, again, is a very quick game. If this is a great gateway game, ignore this 14 plus on the box, because the kids can play it easily. And Point City kind of combines Splendor with Point Salad, and it makes a new, really interesting, fun game. So there you go. That's kind of my little talk about board games. Again, this is kind of the whole purpose of this, is I don't make money on board games. It's something that is kind of a loss leader. It's something that I enjoy having. It's hard to justify the space that it takes because I've showed before that that entire shelf of board games up front doesn't even equal just one little slot of collector boosters from Magic. And typically speaking, the slot of collector boosters, which holds 30 collector boosters, will sell before like my board games will have to be replenished. So it just doesn't make economically sense to carry a lot of board games. This is more of something that I'm more passionate for. And again, I'm encouraging people to try to get into this genre. Speaking of which, maybe I'll have to do a market video on board games, but board games is actually something you can do a bit of flipping and speculation on. There are trends in board games where things go out of stock. Speaking of which, like this one right here, this Heat, Pedal to Metal, at one point was selling on the secondary market for 2x, 3x of what you could buy it from distributors. It's one of those things you have to kind of do a waiting game and wait till they're out of stock and before they're reprinted. And I know some people that make an entire living off of actually backing Kickstarters and reselling them. And I don't know how well this will be received with me talking about how, hey, you can actually be a scalper on board games just like anything else. But yeah, board games is a genre that has really taken off in the past few years and is very robust. There's a lot of conventions. Even here in Utah, there's Salt Con twice a year. There's a thing called Bryce Con where they rent out the Bryce Canyon is a very popular national park, but the hotels are pretty much empty in the winter. It's cold, it's high up on the mountains. And so they do a board game convention there because you can get cheap hotels. And it's been going on for years. I want to do one called Rogue Con, but it will be very limited. Basically, it's going to be a board game / card game convention mixed with outdoors. So rock climbing, canyoneering. We're probably going to do canyoneering, beginner rock climbing, maybe mountain biking if we can secure some bikes. And then it's a full catered kind of experience. And so I'm trying to figure out the cost of it and exactly, plan out like what we do. But board games are definitely on my agenda of something that would be fun. So it'd be like a weekend of fun of both outdoors and games. And so anyway, now I'm really getting off on a tangent here, but appreciate all the new views. People have been coming in. I know it's been pretty dramatic here on the Gone Rogue Games channel, but I do want to kind of introduce myself and show that there's more to me than just the back end of Pokemon and Magic products. And there's a lot of passion here. There's a lot of knowledge between Zach and I of more than just the TCGs area, but hopefully we can earn your subscription and you guys will stick around. And if you enjoy these type of videos, this is typically what I like to do, is just trying to figure out a topic of the day and just go off and talk about it. So if you want me to do like a full top 10 board games of what I personally enjoy, maybe we'll have to do that sometime. And again, this is something that if you are a patron, you have access to this. Don't just be so stuck on Magic and Pokemon and One Piece and that sort of stuff. Utilize me for your gifts. Be the coolest person in your family and get people some neat little board games and stuff for Christmas season coming up, and save some money at some time. I want to save you. It's just what I love so much about the service is it's such a you scratch my back, I scratch your back. I love the purchasing power that this offers. It makes distributors actually call me back if you're a small store. Yeah, good luck like even trying to get distributors to prioritize you. And so it ends up being such a great kind of symbiotic relationship between everyone. So utilize this stuff. It's incredibly fun. I think it will bring some enjoyment to your life. If you haven't been in this genre, you're missing out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with Gone Rogue Games. Thanks for watching.